Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, where I cover vampires, werewolves, and other supernatural creatures. In this video we're going to be looking at the television movie and subsequent TV series called My Babysitter's a Vampire. The series started with a made-for-TV film, then had 2 seasons. It's a Canadian TV show, which I recognized right away with the hockey sticks. In Canada, the show was played on the Teletoon network, but in the US it was shown on the Disney Channel. This show has a surprising amount of vampire lore, interesting abilities, subspecies, and more. Without further ado, let's look at the vampire species from My Babysitter's a Vampire.
The high school brotherhood. We are men. We must mark the moment.
The beginning of the movie introduces us to Ethan and his friend Benny. They are just starting high school and try not to embarrass themselves, and it's not going well so far. The two friends are hanging out one night and trying to find out who can fit more marshmallows in their mouth. That's when Ethan's younger sister hears a noise and sneaks outside without them noticing, and finds a kid shooting a hockey puck against a garage door. The kid is a bully and being rude to Jane and takes her teddy bear. But when Jane isn't looking, the kid is pulled into the tree in the blink of an eye, causing her to scream. This is the first time someone is killed in the series. Just then, her parents arrive home and Ethan is in trouble for letting her go outside by herself. As punishment, his parents will now have to hire a babysitter when they go out, until Ethan can prove he's responsible. At school the next day, we see a missing persons poster for the kid that was outside Ethan's house. His parents hire a babysitter named Erica, and they meet her at school. Ethan also spills food all over her friend Sarah. Nice. We see the kids in the drama club, and they all act a bit strange and wear sunglasses during the day. The leader, Jesse, walks up to the principal, and while talking, he looks like he becomes hypnotized.
Boys in the drama club always making a scene.
Later that day, Erica is on her way to Ethan's house, and she is stopped by her friend Sarah. She apologizes for acting strange lately, and she won't be able to make it to the new Dusk movie premiere. This is apparently not like her at all. And to top it off, Sarah says it's just a movie after all. This made me think right away that she must be a vampire. That's why she's no longer obsessed with the movies. Not long after, the leader of the drama club drops down behind Sarah, pretty much letting us know that he's definitely a vampire. He invites them to a party later, and Erica really wants to go, but Sarah warns her not to, and that she has to babysit. They're trying to get Sarah to come with them, but she says she needs more time. She's not ready, whatever that means. That's when a fight ensues, and they end up taking Erica instead of Sarah. During the short fight, Jesse grabs Sarah and throws her halfway across town. So these vampires are extremely strong when they want to be. Sarah just so happens to land right beside Ethan's house and knocks on the door to be let in. She makes up an excuse, saying that Erica was feeling sick, so she came instead. She had to ask before coming inside, so that's another clue that she might be a vampire. When Ethan sees it's Sarah instead of Erica, he's extremely nervous. Of course it would have to be her. After his parents leave, Ethan checks on Sarah because she was on the phone and sounded frantic. She is telling Erica that she needs to get away from those guys. When he opens the door, he sees something that shocks him.
Looking for something, or are you just an incredible...
Her reflection wasn't all there. Benny doesn't believe him, and now Sarah wants to leave. She thinks her friend is in trouble, so she has to go. Before leaving, she drops something on the ground and Ethan picks it up. When he hands it back to her, their hands touch for a moment and Ethan has a vision. We don't know why or how this happened, but his eyes turn white and he sees what looks like a cemetery. She leaves to go looking for her friend Erica. Ethan and Benny follow to figure out what's going on and get the scare of a lifetime. While following, they hear a noise coming from an alleyway, but can't see because it's dark. Benny pulls out his camera and puts it on night vision mode. What they see is Sarah feeding on rats, and she has 2 fangs and her eyes are glowing.
Help! My babysitter's a vampire!
He said it! He said it!
They run away until they can't run anymore, but Sarah effortlessly catches up to them and isn't even out of breath. She isn't hostile at all though, and explains what they just saw, and what she is. Sarah was bitten by her ex-boyfriend Jesse. Right now, she is still a fledgling, until she drinks human blood. Fledglings don't consume human blood, only animal blood. Once you consume human blood, you become a full vampire. She needs to figure out how to fix her condition before her mortal body dies, or at least try to stop it from happening to anyone else like her friend Erica. We find out later that a fledgling only has a limited amount of time. If they don't consume human blood to complete the transformation within 28 days, they will die. Also, from her story and what Erica said, we can put together that she was obsessed with the vampire series Dusk, which is basically a funny ripoff of Twilight.
He'll kill you if he finds out.
Oh, right.
Kind of funny that even this show makes fun of Twilight. Erica is wearing a shirt that says, "I heart boys who sparkle." This is a reference to the vampire's reaction to sunlight in Twilight. Anyway, she became obsessed with the show, then this Jesse guy started dating her and turned her into a fledgling. Now Sarah isn't so sure she wants to be a vampire and is trying to stop Jesse from turning anyone else. We see Erica arriving at the party being hosted by the vampires, and Ethan and Benny's friend Rory is there as well. Back at the house, the pizza they ordered finally arrives, but the delivery man isn't who they think. It's a vampire that Jesse sent to find Sarah and bring her back to the party. We get the feeling there's something more sinister to this so-called party. The vampire is able to grow his fangs at will, and just like Sarah, his eyes glow. Some vampires' eyes glow yellow, and others it's orange. They throw the pizza with garlic at the vampire and it burns him, letting us know these vampires are weak to garlic. They don't seem to be burned by sunlight though, because we've seen Jesse outside during the day. They do still wear sunglasses, so my guess is that they're like the original Dracula. Sunlight is uncomfortable and weakens him, but does not burn. Sarah is able to put up a good fight against a full vampire, so fledglings are still strong. She stabs him in the forehead with a knife and says it's silverware, but he pulls it out of his forehead and heals instantly, so I'm not sure if it actually was silver. The vampire is also able to move at super speed, appearing like a blur. He starts breaking down the door, so they're forced to jump out the window and run through the yard. The vampire drops down in front of them, but Sarah is right there with a wooden stake and kills him. This movie's made for kids, but they're pretty clever with the action scenes to get the point across. They go back inside and Ethan wonders if the pizza man is dead, but Sarah tells him the vampire isn't dead, but in a kind of limbo for souls. I wonder if this is a special limbo specifically for vampire souls only. This also lets us know that vampires might not have souls, because they might be always trapped in this limbo. Sarah leaves for now, then Ethan gets a call from their friend Rory, and somehow he also ended up at the mansion party. Seems like Jesse and his friends are inviting absolutely everyone. I wonder why. Rory tries to send them a picture of the party, but when he sends it, only one person is visible in the photo. Now they know the party is full of vampires. Sarah is only a fledgling, that's why her reflection was still partially visible in the mirror, kind of like Michael from The Lost Boys when he's a half vampire. Although fledglings can be partially seen in a mirror, they do not appear in photographs. Full vampires like Jesse or the pizza guy are completely invisible in mirrors and photographs. For some reason, although photos cannot capture vampires or fledglings, they both appear on video. To me that makes no sense because a video is just a series of photos, but whatever. The show later explains that the reason vampires cannot be seen in mirrors is because what you see in a mirror is actually your soul, and the vampire curse blocks their soul. My guess is their soul is trapped in that special limbo that Sarah talked about. That's why it can't be seen in a mirror. I've mentioned this before, but this goes back to a Roman legend and many other religions, speaking of mirrors being able to trap your soul. In some places, it's tradition to cover the mirrors in a home after someone passes so their soul doesn't become trapped. Back to the movie. After getting the phone call, Ethan and Benny take Grandma's car and pick up Sarah on the way. She tells them where to go and they arrive at the mansion soon after. They were supposed to stay in the car, but that doesn't last long and they sneak into the party. Sarah tries to convince Erica to leave, but she's already been brainwashed by the vampires and doesn't want to go. The boys find Rory and tell him they need to leave and he agrees, but Ethan wants to know what the vampires are up to. They sneak inside and up the stairs, and while spying, they learn about the prophecy. Jesse says the prophecy cannot be fulfilled until they meet their target. They need 219 souls. We eventually learn that they plan to crash the screening of the new Dusk movie that Erica was talking about, and that will give them all the souls they need for this prophecy. Ethan and the others try to leave, but they're caught by the vampires just as the feeding time begins. They're going to be used to turn the fledglings into full vampires. Ethan grabs Sarah's arm, causing him to have another vision. This time, it's a church, then a fire. As soon as his vision ends, Erica bites Rory, turning him into a fledgling and turning herself into a full vampire. They use this distraction to break away from the vampires and run out of the house and escape. Before leaving, they tip over a punch bowl and throw an electric lamp down, and the vampire steps in the juice and gets electrocuted like Looney Tunes. They run outside and jump the gate, but the vampires easily catch up to them given their speed and agility. I didn't mention this earlier, but before they went to the party, Benny grabbed some of his grandma's extra tanning bed bulbs. They had used them in the past as lightsabers, and since tanning beds use UV light, it burns vampires. It doesn't burn them enough to seriously injure them, but keeps them back. It's weird that it burns them at all though, because they're not burned by the actual sun. In the end, the UV lightsabers do the trick and it allows them to get in the car and escape. The next day at school, Erica is now a full vampire and looks much different. They run into Rory and are confused how he's still alive, and he gives them the good news. He's a vampire now. They can't believe he fed on human blood and turned into a full vampire, but Jesse told him that he would die if he didn't drink human blood, so he did. Like I said earlier, fledglings only have a 28-day window to drink human blood or they will die, so technically he wasn't lying. Suddenly, Rory has to leave and go with the other vampires to church, he calls it. He also says Jesse keeps talking about something called the Cuban animals. They follow the vampires to the graveyard and find Sarah there as well, who is also following them. After talking to her, she knows what Rory was mentioning. It's actually called the Cubulae Animus, which is Latin for the nest of souls. This explains Ethan's visions of the church and the graveyard. He also had a vision of this box just before the vampires found it. The vampires now have the Cubulae Animus, and that can't be good.
A box? Like that one?
What's in the box?
Back at Ethan's house, Sarah shows him a book about the town's history called Whitechapel 1894. Sarah says the town is called Whitechapel, but used to be known as Black's Church. Founded in 1809 by Reverend Horace Black. Black's disciples preyed on the nearby townspeople until the night of a lunar eclipse. On this night, an angry mob trapped them in their place of worship and burned it to the ground. 219 people were killed and buried in an unmarked grave. The next year, the town was reborn as Whitechapel. Ethan sees all this through a vision, but thinks something is missing, so he asks Sarah to touch his hand again. It seems that every time they touch, it triggers a vision for him. She agrees, and in his second vision, he sees that the leader of this 200-year-old cult, named Horace Black, is Jesse. The head of the drama club in high school is actually a 200-year-old vampire trying to resurrect his fellow members that died in the fire. We now know those 219 people that died were probably all vampires. So his plan is to attend the Dusk premiere, which just so happens to be taking place on a lunar eclipse. Then he'll use the souls of the attendees to bring back his vampire followers. An army. One thought, why would a 200-year-old vampire want to hang out with high school kids? While they're talking about the book, Rory arrives at the window and he's flying like Superman, able to float weightlessly through the air. Full vampires are capable of flight, but fledglings are not. We learn another important thing about vampires from Rory. When he tries to enter Ethan's house, his hands are burned. Sarah informs him that he needs permission in order to enter a home. This is similar to the vampires from Being Human. They would also be burned if they tried to enter a home without an invitation. After putting all the clues together, they need to stop Jesse, so they get all the vampire killing supplies they need. Wooden stakes, holy water, crosses, and Nerf guns with little wooden stakes attached. That night, when trying to leave the house, Benny's grandmother gives them something.
If you're gonna be battling the bloodsuckers, you're gonna need these. Whoa!
Turns out, these are enchanted knives, and she's no ordinary grandma. She's an earth priestess. She is one of the descendants of the people that killed the vampires. She also gives them a spell book with a few good spells bookmarked. Since she is an earth priestess, that means that Benny also has this ability in his blood. Apparently he has the makings of a first-rate spellmaster. This is when she reveals to Ethan that he is what's known as a seer. Even though he was already having the visions, he didn't know why he was having them. Now he does. I guess Ethan and Benny's ancestors that killed the vampires were not just ordinary humans, but seers and spellcasters. They go to the Dusk movie premiere and sneak in the back. The vampires begin taking souls. He kills the first person and their soul is absorbed into the Cubulae Animus. The crowd doesn't even react because they think it's part of the show. Dusk is about vampires after all. The trio of Ethan, Benny, and Sarah interrupt them by yelling fire, causing everyone to run out of the theater and most of them get away. Ethan shoots a vampire with his Nerf gun and it turns to ash, and the crosses keep them at a distance. The enchanted dagger caused a vampire to explode with light. Sarah is still trying to convince Erica there's another way, but it's not working. Ethan is cornered by the vampires and uses an enchanted dagger for a second time. He manages to take out one vampire but is once again cornered and forced to pull out his lighter. The vampire says they aren't afraid of fire. He should have done his research, and that's when Ethan throws the lighter up and sets off the sprinkler system. When they first arrived, they filled up the water tank with holy water, just like in Constantine. The holy water begins to rain down, and it doesn't just burn them. They melt away like the Wicked Witch. This allows Ethan and the others to escape. Sarah is becoming weak, and the hunger is getting stronger. She gets angry and tells Ethan to go now.
You have to come with us. We have to stop Jesse.
Just go!
Ethan is talking with Benny and figures that Jesse must be taking the box of souls to the place where his followers were burned to resurrect them. He had a vision of a tree and realizes it's the one in his backyard. Also, when Ethan had the vision of fire, that was probably the fire that killed the vampires. They go to Ethan's house right away and find Jesse. He reveals that Ethan's ancestor was one of the people that burned down his church. Jesse says that his ancestors burned his flock alive. They must refer to a group of vampires as a flock, rather than a nest or coven. Also, this vampire said that fire doesn't hurt them, or at least they're not afraid of it. Yet, it killed the original flock of vampires. So, I guess he misspoke, or I don't know. Even though Jesse was stopped before he got all 219 souls that he needed, he can still resurrect a few dozen of the most powerful vampires that ever lived. Ethan tries to use his enchanted dagger again, but Jesse is a much older and more powerful vampire. He uses telekinesis to disarm Ethan like he used Expelliarmus. Then he uses the same ability to hold Ethan so he can't move. Benny tries to save him but fails. Sarah does manage to knock the box of souls out of Jesse's hand, but is taken hostage at the same time. He tells them to hand over the box so their friend dies. He needs to transfer the souls out of the box before the eclipse is over, so he doesn't have much time. Benny's grandmother uses a spell from inside the house to hit Jesse with lightning, making him drop Sarah. Just then, Ethan opens the box of souls.
What have you done?
The souls of the innocent people start to fly around. Then they start to fly through Jesse, causing him pain. The souls repeatedly hit him, causing him to turn into a black mist and die. How the hell did Ethan know that's what would happen when he opened the box? What if he opened the box and that just resurrected all the vampires? I feel like that was a bit of a risky move, but it paid off. Also, this scene kinda reminded me of when the vampire spirits are flying through Deacon Frost in the first Blade movie. Everything is kinda back to normal now. Other than Rory and Erica are now vampires. But since Jesse is gone, they go on to become protagonists in the show, which is kinda cool. Also, remember how Sarah had 28 days to drink human blood or she would die? Well, it turns out there's actually one other alternative. You can remain a fledgling forever. If someone like Benny's grandmother can make you a human blood substitute. This gets rid of the hunger and allows you to stay a fledgling forever as long as you don't run out. This human blood substitute must act like a magic potion. After Jesse is defeated, that's where the movie ends and the show begins.
Hey guys!
It's pretty much all over.
Now I want to talk about the vampire species. How vampires are turned, unturned. A review of their strengths, abilities, including some stuff we don't see in the movie. We don't know how this vampire species was created or when, but they are weak to crosses and holy water, so they must have some kind of evil origin. The vampire species does have some kind of hierarchy and you're supposed to report to the council. This is very similar to the show True Blood, where the council takes care of vampire problems and punishes them if necessary. We can tell by this member of the council that these vampires are definitely immortal and do not age after being turned. Vampires are turned with a bite, and it's later revealed that when someone is bitten, they are injected with vampire venom. This spreads throughout their body and turns someone. If it hasn't been too long, a vampire can actually suck the venom back out, preventing someone from being turned. Humans can be turned into vampires, but so can subspecies like spellcasters and seers. Ethan was actually temporarily turned, but had the venom sucked out. For the brief time he was infected with the venom, it was very painful for him. It's not clear if the turning process is painful for everyone or just seers. We usually just see someone be bit and then be a vampire. We never actually see them turn into the full vampire. After being turned, someone will remain a fledgling for 28 days and then they will die unless they feed on human blood. You can feed on blood immediately after being turned into a fledgling like Rory did, so there's no wait period to become a full vampire.
One down, 218 to go.
As for abilities, vampires have super strength, super speed and agility, heightened senses, reflexes, flight, durability, and a healing ability. Rory had a few of his fingers cut off and they grew back in less than a day.
Vampires can heal themselves.
Yo!
I ain't buying, yo.
My name is Skylar White, yo. My husband is Walter White, yo.
They can regenerate from most things and even regrow organs. It seems like vampires do get stronger with age, because Jesse was the only vampire seen using the telekinesis ability and also the compulsion ability he used on the school principal. Now for the weaknesses. Vampires are weak to stakes to the heart, crosses, holy water, sunlight, but it can't kill them, some magic spells, and enchanted weapons. Vampires hate the smell of garlic, and they must be invited inside. Fledglings are weak to sunlight just like full vampires. Throughout the movie, we see Sarah wearing sunglasses just like the full vampires. They are also seen wearing sunscreen during the day. Holy water also hurts fledglings. Sarah wore protective gear while working with holy water, and Ethan covered her from the holy water sprinklers. Vampires or any creature that uses dark power can also be killed by an object called the lucifractor. It's a special object that absorbs the energy that vampires need to survive, and the energy pulse it releases will turn a vampire to ash. It's possible that vampires cannot actually be killed completely. Sarah mentions that the pizza guy was sent to a kind of limbo, and later in the show Jesse comes back to life. So maybe they never fully die.
Dead. No, just in some kind of limbo for souls, but he won't be back here.
That's my video on the vampires from My Babysitter's a Vampire. This movie and show was made for kids, and I really enjoyed it when it came out. And even looking at it now, it has some pretty interesting vampire lore and changes to the traditional curse. The fledgling only having 28 days to fully turn was a cool concept. The movie and show have been praised by fans and critics, and I would have to agree with everyone else. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10 for creativity, good lore, and pretty good comedic relief considering it's something made for a younger audience. If there's any other movies, TV shows, or video games you want me to cover, please leave them in the comments below as I always read through them. Thanks again so much for 200,000 subscribers. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and subscribe if you haven't. It means a lot and I really appreciate it. As always, an extra big thanks to all my members on the channel and all the new members who have joined recently. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.